Hey, what's going on? Today I've got a couple of parts to keep working on the Stagea, which is pretty exciting because I've really wanted to finish this off for a while. So the goal today is to get the power steering bottle mounted properly up here. So that should just bolt onto there. Oh, actually these two holes. And then hopefully be able to bolt the power steering reservoir to that bracket. Now that I've moved all the lines a little bit. I'll have to paint this bracket to make it look smooth. It doesn't look very pretty, but it'll let me at least test it all for now, and then I can go back and cut this off and tidy this all up a little bit, make it look a little bit more pretty in future. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think I saw this top thinking for that. Yeah. 50, I think it's up to 100 now. That's perfect.
There you go. So this is my little prototype power steering bracket. And I'll go ahead and tidy that up a little bit more in future. Cut the side off there and stuff as well. But for now, that all looks pretty good to me. The lines come up there, it's not touching anything. Yeah, cool. I'm pretty happy with that. So that's out of the way, which is good because now that means I can leave all the turbo stuff up there. As cooked as it looks, coming up over the over that bend, it's at least it'll all work. So the other thing I now have to figure out is air intake. You know, somewhere for the pod filter to sit. That is definitely the next piece to the puzzle. That could actually work like that, I wonder.
Yeah.
If I could put something like
that
in there. See if I cut some of it off like that. Yeah, kind of. Like,
oh yeah, just cut that off.
Cut that bit off and just went. You pull. You pull, and I'll squeeze, and then eventually, there we go. Once it's wet enough, it'll just come by itself.
It'll come by itself.
It'll just come by itself if you put it in the right pressure in the right place, and there's enough lube. There you go. That. So we've got the turbo hooked up. I really just wanted to see how it runs without having to spend anything extra. So, you know, I think that'll be alright as it is. You know, it should flow okay and still get the job done. It just doesn't look very pretty, which doesn't really matter. It's a race car, so whatever. So obviously, pod filter is just kind of sitting here at the front of the turbo. There's not a whole lot of space here now that I've moved the power steering pump to the front there. Eventually I'll get a pipe that kind of snakes down here and through that gap and down into the corner, like a typical kind of R33 or R34 has a pod filter sitting down in this space here. So obviously how things are at the moment, you know, with the stock ECU, I'm still using the airflow meter. So that's the biggest reason I've still got that connected. I've got a Haltech Elite 2000 ready to go in. But I just wanted to get the turbo up and running first, so this will at least run the motor. But eventually I'm just going to delete the airflow meter altogether, and we'll just end up running directly off the map sensor. So if we dive in underneath, we'll see. Now the only thing I haven't hooked up again is the oil drain from the turbo, and that's very specifically because I want to prime the turbo. There's no oil in it at the moment, so I'm going to prime that by cranking the engine a few times and just letting it fill with oil before actually hooking that up. So leaving that disconnected means I can get underneath it and verify that there's oil coming out of it, which obviously makes sense. Other than that, we've hooked up the oil feed to the stock oil feed location. That all just went on with the same size banjo bolt. Got some wastegate plumbing hooked up as well. It's pretty straightforward. So hopefully there's no leaks. Hopefully there's. Let's just get into it. Let's try it. So that's one way to do it. Crank it a couple of times. Don't actually let it fire. That should be building up a little bit of oil pressure in there. but it might take a little bit of time for the oil actually to reach up to the top of the turbo. So I'm just going to keep doing that for a bit. I can see there's no oil that's come through yet. The other way, of course, is to just disconnect the CAS and crank, and it shouldn't actually ever fire because the ECU's just not getting the signal from the CAS that it needs to know when to fire, so it just doesn't fire. I think that's how it works. We'll just keep cranking and we'll see if we can see some oil coming through. Okay. Alright, well that's the CAS now disconnected. We're going to turn it over until we see oil coming out of the turbo. See how we go. Still dry. Aha! We have oil. Sweet. So we're going to plug the CAS back in. So, she lives. How good was that? That was sick. So, look, for now, I guess it's just a matter of tidying everything up, getting the pod filter installed properly, and just getting everything else nice and neat, and bolting things down properly, and just finishing everything off, really. So, but the concept of the GT35 40 on the Stagea definitely looks like a winner. So, we're onto something good here. I'm going to keep going ahead with this. The other thing I'm going to need to do is have an exhaust made up. It bolts on here at the flanges, but it hits on the, I guess on the firewall down the bottom. So might need to either massage this dump, or maybe get a different dump, or just have something custom made. So considering I need to get a custom cat back to bolt up to that dump pipe anyway, that might be what I end up doing. I might just put the whole thing onto a truck and send it to the exhaust shop, and they can just fix all that stuff up. No, so for now I think we're going to just keep plugging away at it, and just finish tidying up all those bits and pieces, and yeah, I'll see you next time. Cheers!